With 4 consecutive series wins in the bag, the Mariners are down in San Diego for a quick 2-game set with a very good Padres team. Javier Reyes of Locked On Padres and I are going to talk all about it. Ready, Javi?
I'm always ready, man. Let's do it.
Let's go!
You are Locked On Padres, your daily San Diego Padres podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to a very special crossover between the Locked On Mariners and Locked On Padres podcast, brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline has you covered all season long with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline is where the game starts. Happy 4th of July, and thank you so much for making us your first listen of the day. We are free and available on all platforms. My name is Ty Dane Gonzalez, host of the Locked On Mariners podcast, joined by the host of the Locked On Padres podcast, Javier Reyes. You can follow our shows on Twitter at LO_Mariners and LO_Padres, and follow us on our personal accounts at Dane Gonzalez, CANE_GNZLZ, and Javi at Javi Peno. And if this is your first time joining us here on the Locked On Mariners or Locked On Padres podcast, welcome to the show. If you like what you hear, give us a follow or subscribe wherever you listen to this. And if you're watching us on YouTube, hit the subscribe button, turn on the notification bell, and give this video a thumbs up. We greatly appreciate it. So, Javi, our two teams are finally colliding. It's the Vetter Cup. The annual Vetter Cup is underway. This rivalry that for some reason is always constantly forced, and I feel nothing when I think about the Padres, quite frankly. Just going to be honest with you about it. I don't feel a single thing towards the Padres whatsoever. But it is technically a rivalry that happens every single year. We do these 2-game sets every single year. And the first one is coming up here in San Diego starting today. And we're gonna see Chris Flexen versus Sean Manaea. Then we're gonna see Logan Gilbert versus Mike Clevenger. So a couple of interesting pitching matchups over the next couple of days. And of course, the Mariners are heading into this series a little lightheaded, quite frankly. The Jesse Winker is going to be starting his 6-game suspension today. JP Crawford is returning though from his 4-game suspension for their part in the infamous brawl with the Angels. I'm not sure if you heard about it, Javi.
My gosh.
Yeah.
I mean, just what a time that was. Just especially if you're not a Mariners or Angels fan. I'm just enjoying it from the background. I'm like, what happened? Baseball's the last sanctuary of good fights. You know what I mean? Because they can't really happen in football. They certainly can't happen in the NBA. There's a lot of like hold me back. In baseball, it's just really dumb. And I think that we kind of have to enjoy it sometimes. Unfortunately, though, Mariners got maybe a little hosed and all that. I don't know. Because like I get maybe being mad that Trout was almost hit and you should stand up for him. But Javi. It was a 5-3 game with and he represented the tying run in the 9th inning. That was not intentional. It's not intentional. There was no beef. I'm gonna get on a rant here. I'm gonna keep this quick. I mean, my listeners probably want to hear your perspective too. Go for it.
All right. Well, I'll keep this quick though, because I do want to ask you about the Padres and everything going on with them. But so it was a 5-3 game. On Saturday. There was no beef before that between the Angels and the Mariners. And by the way, a week beforehand, Michael Lorenzen hit Justin Upton in the head with a fastball, and we didn't even think twice about it. No one caused a stir. Scott Service and the Mariners dugout didn't stare down the Angels dugout or anything. And I'm sure you've seen the John Boy video by now where Phil Nevin and the Angels dugout stared at them as they walked off the field and all these things, started yelling out at them, all this stuff, whatever. And, So Swanson didn't have a good fastball that night. He missed badly to the hitter before him, McKinnon, I believe. I think he had like 4 fastballs that are way high out of the zone. And the scouting report says that against Mike Trout, if you want any sort of chance against Mike Trout, who has absolutely destroyed the Seattle Mariners this season, as he does all the time, you're supposed to throw inside on him. And so Swanson threw up and into him, and the ball just kind of slipped out of his hands and got up and in. It didn't hit him. It wasn't intentional. And he came back and he walked the guy, and that just seemed to be it. But they carried this beef. And really, at the end of the day, I don't like, obviously I blame the Angels for manufacturing some beef, and look, they've been going through a pretty tough time. They have two generational talents on their team, and yet again they're under 500, and they're, you know, with an interim manager, and they're trying to create a spark. I get why they're doing it, and I feel like this was more a matter of the Angels just wanting to create a spark rather than anything to do with the Mariners. Like, I think it just, you know, the Mariners just so happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time, more or less, and they ended up being kind of the victim of the Angels' insecurity here. But you know, I ultimately blame this on the umpires, because Andrew wants, you know, they suddenly take Suarez, or Suarez was supposed to start the game for the Angels. They take Suarez out. They bring Wantz in as a glorified hitman. He throws at Julio. He throws above Julio's head on the first pitch of the second at bat of the game, and that should have been it right there, because even people that reported for the Angels and reported for the Mariners entered that day saying, like, everyone at the ballpark is talking about what might happen today. Everyone's going to be talking about it. And it just seems like this is going to be something that ends up going down. And so we get to it, and like, the umpires should have known, and it should have been over and done with there. Watts should have been thrown out. Nevin should have been thrown out, and it would have been over. And then the next sitting, and really, like, I'm sure you can understand, if you are going to respond in some sort of way, you get one shot. And that was their one shot. They threw at Julio's head. Should have been over. Should have been done with. All right, cool, whatever. You got your anger out. Cool. Let's move on. Then, but then they throw at Jesse Winker the next inning, and Winker, even after that, was going to go to first, but the umpire still did not throw out once. He did not eject him. He was more concerned about calming Winker down, who was calmed down. He was going to go to first. Then Anthony Rendon starts talking, and at a certain point, man, you got to just take matters into your own hands. And you know, things happen the way that they did. I'm not saying that the Mariners are above criticism. I don't think that Winker should have went and tried to take on the entire Angels bench.
It was great.
Very Amir Garrett-esque, you know? Yeah. And, you know, and I don't think that, you know, JP Crawford should have hopped over the top and started throwing haymakers, you know, but he was also defending his guy who was getting into it with like 30 other dudes. And, you know, and I don't condone Jesse Winker for flipping off the crowd. You know, to me, that's funny, but like, also, you know, you shouldn't have done it. You know, you shouldn't have done it. I think we can all recognize that. But yeah, dude, just being objective, like being just an objective baseball fan here. And I've said this many times on this show since the brawl happened, is like, that was completely the Angels thing. Like, yeah, the Mariners responded. They're like at fault for some things, but like, that was completely just manufactured by the Angels out of nowhere, out of nothing, literal pixie dust. Like, it didn't make sense.
Yeah, that was really well said. I mean, I'm used to my team hasn't really been involved in fights. The only thing that was kind of close to it was the Tatis 3-0, or when it was between our own players and our own dugout fighting each other. So other than that, really, it's kind of like fun for me to see teams fighting, because I haven't seen that in a while, to be honest with you. It feels like we're due, like, at some point. Yeah. But I think that the Padres are just kind of like in this position right now where, because they were talking so much last year, and because they had such a huge collapse from being great, by the way. It's not like they were mediocre from the start. They were amazing, and then they had a big second half collapse. And they're kind of like toning it down a little bit. I think they're like, you know what, we're the last team that's allowed to, like, you know, as you were saying, like, manufacture some sort of hype and whatnot, and being very contriving of all that. But, I mean, we headed into this Mariners series, man. And, I mean, I, for one... Yeah, like, definitely Jesse Winker should be suspended for the series, right? Like, absolutely. I actually think Julio Rodriguez should be too. And you know what? Why not? Sure. I think that I think what's his face? I think that Eugenio Suarez, who's been kind of a pretty low key, been by relative to where that trade was expected, Eugenio Suarez has been kind of the better in terms of exceeding expectations. This is a guy who like won 860 last year, whatever the heck. And I have him in my super deep fantasy league right now, and he's been awesome. Yeah, I think that all the Mariners lineup, maybe just for 2 days, because I think just in honor of and of the sacrifice that the Angels made, I think for the Padres' sake, I think that would be really great.
Javi, I'll tell you this. Even with all those guys in the lineup, you still have a pretty good chance.
Yeah. The Mariners have struggled a little bit this year. Yeah.
It's yes, particularly on the offensive side of things. I mean, even today, as we're recording this for transparency's sake, we're recording this on Sunday. The Mariners went up against a bad A's team, one of the worst teams in baseball, if not the worst team in baseball. Frankie Montas had to leave after the first inning, and the only offense came from Julio Rodriguez, and that was 2 runs, and that's it. So this team, this lineup is not in a great place. You know, they're starting the shell of Justin Upton almost every single day. That's fun. That's a great place to be. Carlos Santana has just come out of nowhere. That's interesting. So we got, 36-year-old Carlos Santana, 34-year-old Justin Upton. We got Dylan Moore, who should probably be in AAA. We got Sam Haggerty, who also should probably be in AAA. So it's a great time. Absolutely vibing right now. Adam Frazier's like playing to his like 5th percentile. Basically been second half Adam Frazier, as I'm sure you were very familiar with.
I'm very aware of the Adam Frazier thing.
Yeah.
He was close to being as maligned as the Padres first baseman, who, for listeners of Locked On Mariners, full transparency, again, I do not say the name of the guy who plays first base for the Padres, and it actually worked for a good month of the season. And I just do not say his name. I call him the ground ball gremlin, etc. On audio related video podcast stuff, I cannot say his name. That is part of the rule. And in fairness, the rule has been working so far. So
understandable. Yes, I took a quick peek at Fangraphs, and I knew that this first baseman, who shall not be named, was off to a pretty good.
Just not me.
He was off to a good start. I mean, technically this is going out on your channel as well, so we'll be safe here, and we will not mention him. We will not mention him. But he's got a WRC plus over 100. He's technically a league average hitter this year. Hey. How about that?
Great.
How about that?
Great.
All right. So I have a question for you about the Padres, which I still haven't even gotten a chance to ask. But real quick,
we got a little sidetracked.
Real quick, a reminder: this crossover special, this crazy unhinged crossover special between Locked On Mariners and Locked On Padres, is brought to you by Built Bar. From the people who invented healthy and tasty comes the latest gift to your taste buds. You've probably tried the amazing Coconut Brownie Chunk Built Bar, but guess what? Your friends at Built have given Coconut Brownie Chunk the Puffs treatment. That's right, the Coconut Brownie Chunk Built Bar flavor you love, and a deliciously chewy marshmallow covered in 100% real chocolate. It's like a fluffy cloud of coconut brownie goodness. But stop drooling and listen. They are good for you. We're talking low calorie, low sugar, high protein, and all delicious. Coconut Brownie Chunk Puffs are only here for a limited time, so go to Built.com right now to make sure you don't miss out. They are going fast because they taste amazing. All Built Bars are made with collagen protein, which your body absorbs more efficiently and provides tons of health benefits. Eat something that tastes good and is actually good for you. And the best part about Built Puffs is, of course, they taste amazing, but you can enjoy them guilt-free because they are actually good for you. They are the perfect treat whether you got a craving, you need to satisfy your sweet tooth, or if you need a quick, healthy snack. They are an excellent source of protein. Delicious coconut, rich, sweet brownie, creamy marshmallow. Stop fantasizing. Get to Built.com to order your box of Coconut Brownie Chunk Built Puffs right now. Go to Built.com, use promo code LOCKED15, that's LOCKED15 for 15% off your order. Again, that's LOCKED15 for 15% off your order at Built.com. You're listening to Locked On Mariners and Locked On Padres crossover. Thank you again for making us your first listen of the day. So, Javi, before we got entirely sidetracked by Brawl Talk, I wanted to ask you, because your Padres, they're doing pretty well right now. They're 47-34. They're second place in the NL West. They're in a wild card spot right now. That's nice, and they're doing this all without Fernando Tatis. So, how are they doing this without Fernando Tatis? How have they been able to get to this point, especially after the disappointment of last season?
Yeah, I think it's been a combination of a few things. I think it's been good situational hitting. It's been guys that have stepped up, like your Ha-Seong Kim, who's playing really great defense and has at least been kind of an average major league hitter on top of the good defense. And then probably, even Nomar Mazara, who they had to call up, who was kind of raking in AAA, kind of a formerly highly touted guy, and he's been okay for them so far, what I'm saying? And then Jorge Alfaro, who had like the highest swinging strike percentage in Major League Baseball history, is coming out here, and he's been a pretty good offensive catcher, especially as the second guy technically on the team. And I'm all of a sudden forgetting who is on the Padres, so give me 1 second. Who am I blanking on right now? That's been pretty good for them.
By the way, I got a question for you real quick about Alfaro. Okay, so looking like before the season started, I was looking at like, Fangraphs has like the depth charts, for like all the teams, and it had Jorge Alfaro as a starting left fielder. Are they actually playing Jorge Alfaro in left field?
No, I don't
Okay.
think they've done
Okay.
that once.
All
That is a Marlins being Marlins thing. That was
right.
a
Okay.
fake
Okay.
news positional versatility on
Okay.
behalf of the Marlins. That was just deciding to put someone left did not mean that they could play left. That was
Okay.
wow. That was something. But yeah, and then it's him, and then I of course, how can I get Profare, my boy, Jurickson Profar, who I don't know why I say his name that way, but I do. And he's been a delight. He's been in a lot of ways what I think that Padres fans and the team itself wish that Trent Grisham was going to be. It's a guy who doesn't strike out too much. His walk to strikeout ratio among outfielders is kind of up there, like in terms of in the good way. He's been good. He's hitting for more power this year, more home runs already than all of last year. He crossed that. Having good at bats, and he's playing a decent left field. And considering that Tommy Pham last year was really bad defensively, forget the offense, he was bad there too. But considering he was really bad defensively, that's probably something that myself included looked over a little bit. Just the fact that you would be going from a poor defender to at least an average one. And he's been above average, right? So that's been a really big thing for the team. Jake Cronenworth, really slow start to the year, but has been much, much turning it up lately, which has been great. And then Machado performing like an MVP. I mean, he's probably one of the front runners right now. He's been awesome. Good situational hitting. Luke Voigt, who I can increasingly am begging him to murder me in more explicit and crazy ways on Twitter. He's been ramping it up. His OPS was good last month, like 800 or something like that. He's been hitting for a lot of power. And, the starting pitching has been fantastic, right? They just got a lot of depth in that starting rotation with Cotton Eye Joe Musgrove. He's been awesome. You've got Sean Manaea, who gives you a lot of innings, the consistency, the strikeouts. And then you've got Mackenzie Gore, who's one of the league National League Rookie of the Year contenders. And then you've got Blake Snell. And then you've got Yu Darvish, who, while his strikeout rate is low, he has been going longer into games, which is good. I mean, he's been a pretty good pitcher. So it's really a lot of depth when it comes to starting pitching, that they kind of can just go out there and be like, as long as we score 3-4 runs, we feel like we have a good shot at this. And that's kind of been the winning scenario, especially with Machado playing otherworldly right now. Although they did just get their butts kicked by the Dodgers. In fairness, before people freak out, it is the Dodgers, and I just think that for a regular season thing, I'm not expecting the Padres to always compete against them. I'm not all that concerned about that in the grand scheme of things, because let's be honest, it's not like the Dodgers are immune to losing in the playoffs. So we'll figure out that when that gets there. But in honor of Independence Day, we did not go quietly into the night. We did not vanish without a fight, my friend. All right, we did take that last game thanks to Luke Voigt and a Ha-Seong Kim home run, but that's kind of the big breakdown of the Padres, man. It's been good, all things considered, and how much bad mojo, especially from the Tatis injury, the collapse, the fact that their roster is really weirdly constructed, and they can't really necessarily just go out and spend. You know what I mean?
Right.
They don't have as much flexibility with their roster. They've been sensational, all things considered.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible, for all the reasons that you mentioned, and also, again, coming off of the disappointment that was last year and being without Tatis, it's just, it's pretty surprising to see that, we're nearing the All-Star break here. We're nearing the halfway point. We're basically actually. Today is going to be the halfway point, at least for the Mariners. Going to be 81 games, and the Padres are doing what they're doing right now, and so it's really exciting. And especially, it's really exciting for when Tatis gets back in the fold eventually. When do you think that will be?
Oof, that's the question, right? I mean, Tatis, it sounded like, because it's like a couple weeks ago when he's getting his scans and whatnot, he had not really progressed the way that the team had hoped. I am also, the big kind of elephant in the room is that he's still got this shoulder injury that kept him out kind of sporadically last season. And this is a separate wrist thing from motorcycle incident that everybody has been talking about, right? And for good reason, by the way. I'm not blaming everybody. But so it's kind of one of those things where I didn't like the way everyone was kind of just plugging him in, right? They were like, all right, he's out for 3 months and we'll have him by maybe by the All-Star break. I don't know, man. Like I'm hoping that he comes back, but you got to be really careful with this guy, especially with his already checkered injury history. So we're going to have to see what happens, and we're gonna have to see where he plays, right? That's gonna be an interesting thing. Does he play right field like he did last year because they like Kim's defense, which is totally fair, and maybe give Tatis a little bit of a breather? Do they put him at DH? It's going to be really interesting. Obviously, I want him back, and obviously, when he gets back, he is in the lineup immediately. He's just that skilled of a player. But until then, man, I don't know. I'm hoping that he comes back, but it's also, I think people need to stop plugging it in. This isn't someone who just sprained their ankle and they have to be out a week and a half. And you're like, yeah, you'll be back. But, we'll have to see.
Well, and that's the thing that's going on with the Mariners right now, right? Is like Kyle Lewis has been out, for a considerable amount of time. He came back for 4 games after undergoing knee surgery and then was concussed.
He was awesome for 4.
Yeah, he was awesome for 4 games, hit a couple of home runs, including one off of Verlander. By the way, Kyle Lewis owns Justin Verlander. Just want to get that out there.
Go ahead now, Ty. Go ahead now.
Justin Verlander is his son. Anywho. But yeah, like, he's now, been dealing with a serious concussion. On top of that, they've been without Mitch Haniger since the end of April with a high ankle sprain. He's not supposed to be coming back until at least the All-Star break. Ty France has been on the IL for the last couple weeks with a grade 2 flexor strain in his left elbow, and it's like he's expected to come back in the next few days potentially, but you never know. It's also a situation where general manager Jerry DiPoto is hopping on radio and saying like if Ty France comes back rather than when Ty France comes back. And that's really concerning to hear. And so, all these things, plus you got the suspensions on top of it. It's just this team really cannot catch a break. And right now it's entering, or it's right now in the midst of a very critical spot in its schedule where, the schedule is starting to lighten up really. The Padres are the first team above 500 that they faced in a really, really long time. And then they got the Blue Jays right after this. And, they're only 3 games under 500 now. They're playing a little bit better ball, even though the offense is still lagging behind. The rotation's been great. The bullpen's starting to get a lot better. But, this team is just, it's not deep enough to survive all of these injuries. And that's why we've seen the Carlos Santana trade, even though that's not very exciting. They just needed someone who has at least graded out as a league average hitter that can get on base some. And that's, it's not great, but it even when the trade was made, I went on this show and said, he's not amazing, but he is technically better than half of this lineup. So, so like, yay, I guess. So, it's just, they're in a really, really tough spot. They got to figure out, what team they want to be here over the next coming weeks. Cause deadline's coming up in about a month here, and they don't have a lot to sell, but they need to buy. I would think at least for 2023 in mind. And so, yeah, these next few games, including this upcoming series here, this is going to be a real big test for them. And they're going in, a little light, like I said. So we'll see how it goes. We're going to be talking about more of the series in just a moment. But real quick, a reminder, this crossover episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline.net is your number one source for all your betting needs and sports info. Find all the latest sports developments, league reviews, and news, including this year's NHL playoffs and Major League Baseball. BetOnline is your continued source for all your sporting wagering information, including live betting, esports, and scores. And BetOnline.net remains the best spot for all your sports scores, podcasts, and news this season. It is the fastest and easiest way to check in on all your favorite sports and events, including MMA, boxing, and golf. So head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and action. BetOnline is where the game starts. So, Javi, as I mentioned, unfortunately, Ty France is out for the series. Taylor Trammell is also out for the series, and he was
both my boys. Yeah,
he was playing very well before the injury as well.
I love Trammell.
He's great. He's a great dude.
He's cool.
Just
he's a cool
yeah.
dude.
Everyone that you hear talk about Taylor Trammell is just like, I love that guy. That guy's great.
Yeah. I remember hearing him on like Baseball Barbecue like 3 years ago or whatever, and I was like, this guy's so much fun. Like, I'm really pulling for him. Maybe it can be just a solid MLB player. I mean, when the Padres had him, I was really bullish on him, probably because good God, right after they traded Manny Margot, I was like, there's no outfielders here. Let's go. Taylor Trammell's the future. So maybe that was a mistake there, but like, he's okay. And then you've got, of course, my boy who, like, and I've made this joke a lot, so apologies for people listening to my podcast, but like, like the Community episode where there's like the darkest timelines and whatnot.
Yeah.
It's not the darkest timeline we're in. I think the darkest timeline we're in is if the Padres had made that trade for Joey Gallo and they gave up Mackenzie Gore and Abrams, which is what reportedly the Rangers were asking for. That's the darkest, but we're in like the second darkest, and that's because of the Ty France trade, which is just there is the happy timeline where Ty France is playing first base, and the current first baseman for the Padres, the ground ball gremlin, is, I don't know, I'm coming home music plays and he's in Kansas City. I don't know. But it's just, man, like the guy's a beast though. He can just flat out hit. And I'm actually kind of sad that he's not going to be playing this series. I've been really enjoying watching him play. It's just a fundamentally sound hitter. And then, you know, the rest of the team with the Mariners. I mean, Julio has had good vibes ever since, I think it was Adolis Garcia robbed him of a home run. And he kind of just like did the smile or whatever. Like he was just kind of like, oh my gosh, you got to be kidding me. I mean, it was an amazing play. Julio's just got such good vibes. Everybody said he was slow. Nope. Stealing like 25,000 bases. I've enjoyed that from him.
Yeah.
And in general, the Mariners I've always found to be just a very fun team to talk about, whether it's because of the SB Nation video series on the history of the Mariners, which I love to rewatch every now and then, which is fantastic stuff. Everybody should go check that out. But I'm wondering, my big question for you, and it's not necessarily about a specific player, but it's just, do you think that the hype or the belief in the Mariners this year, was this a team that was really due for regression because of the run differential last year and how, like, historically, at least maybe by Mariner standards, how clutch they were, which is still a good thing. But I'm wondering, like, should they maybe have been bullish on playing for this year? Should they have made some of those moves, right? The Robbie Ray move and the move for Jesse Winker and Eugenio Suarez, or should they have maybe waited a little bit before firing the bullets and whatnot? Considering that maybe last year was just a little bit more fortunate, you know?
Well, I think it was absolutely time to start spending some money, start acquiring major league talent that was going to help you now, not guys that you're banking on helping you down the road. You know, last year they weren't a 90-win team, you know, however you slice it. Yes, they won 90 games, but you just look at the way that roster was constructed. A lot of guys, you know, play into their 90th percentile at times, and, you know, the bullpen being one of the best in baseball and the rotation being, you know, just good enough to get by and give them chances to win games. And like you mentioned, they were so incredibly clutch. And again, a big reason for that was the bullpen, and the bullpen significantly regressed to start this year because, as we all know, bullpens are highly volatile. You know, they can be amazing, you know, one year and just be at the bottom of the league the next year. And the bullpen has leveled out since, and it's been pretty good for the last month or so, but it was really, really bad. And on top of that, you had injuries, and you had some of their additions, like Jesse Winker, was off to an awful start to the year. Like playing, like, you know, this is a guy that whenever he's been healthy has been a, you know, statistically a top 10 hitter in baseball, and he was probably like their 7th or 8th best hitter for a while there. And that's just, you know, it's like you mentioned, like Eugenio Suarez was probably the best part of that deal so far. That's a bad thing. Even though that Suarez has been really good this year, all things considered, that's a bad thing that's the case. And so, you know, just some of these things have happened. Robbie Ray was disappointing to start things. And I know you wrote I know that you wrote an article about him. And ever since, though, he's been amazing. He pitched again today.
I know. So you're welcome, Mariners Nation. Look, I adore Robbie Ray. Like, I love. Is
it the pants?
Robbie Ray.
Is it the pants?
It's the thick boy pants. And it's funny because I will say, I wrote an article for Just Baseball, is what Ty is referencing. I got bullied into that. I swear, like, everybody was just, because everyone was saying, like, oh my God, we have someone there on staff who just, like, hates Robbie Ray and is like, this guy gives up home runs like crazy. I told everyone he'd be bad. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. Even though I had written about the signing and I thought it was a high floor signing, in the sense that this is a guy, maybe a more pricey Sean Manaea, where he's going to have a high 3 ERA, but get a lot of strikeouts and have some really good performances. For 5 years, I liked the deal for the Mariners, and I should have stuck with my guns on that. But I will say, I don't like Robbie Ray as much now. And it's not for some other reasons that may or may not have to do entirely with baseball. But it is the fact that I liked him when he was a 1.6 whip guy that struck out, had a K per 9 of 14 and an ERA above 6. He was the Joey Gallo of pitchers, man. It was a walk, the coolest strikeout you've ever seen, or an absolute nuke from like the 8th best.
Yeah.
It was the most entertaining thing. This year, even when he was bad, you might be saying, "Oh, well, you're probably enjoying this, right?" There was only one OG like fun Robbie Ray start. Otherwise, it's just been him getting like kind of beat up and walking batters.
Sure.
The Astros one from a few weeks ago when he was getting lit up in the first few innings. That one was a lot of fun, but otherwise, it's not the same. It's that second half when he got traded to the Blue Jays at first. Some of those D-backs years. Every single time you throw that CV on, you're going to get some good entertainment. But I mean, in fairness for the Mariners, at least he's been really great lately. I know that his last like 4 starts, maybe like a run or so in each. I know he pitched really well today. He had 12 strikeouts. So that's really good news. It seems like the biggest good news right now for the Mariners.
Yeah, he's only allowed 3 runs over his last 5 starts.
Nice.
And I think that's like 30-something innings. And it's really because he's found this sinker, this 2-seam fastball that he used to throw back in Arizona, and he kind of stopped throwing it. He did throw it for like 1 year, a couple years ago, and then just went away from it again, and had completely gone away from it again this year to start the year. Then in that Astros start that you're referencing, after he gave up the 3 home runs to the Astros on that start, he started using the 2-seamer. It was generating weak contact. He was getting ground balls. And that's the thing, too, is like you look back at Arizona Robbie Ray, like 2015, 2017 Robbie Ray was a ground ball strikeout heavy pitcher. That's who he was. And he would obviously give up home runs. That would happen. That's just what's going to happen with him. But so far he's been implementing this 2-seamer again. It's been great. It's been a great pitch for him, and he's starting to find a feel for his slider as well. He used the slider heavy today against the A's and just dominated them with it. He generated 11 swings and misses with just that one pitch. Nice. And he had 27 whiffs in this game.
Jeez.
Which is a season
Robbie
high for
Ray.
him.
Robbie Ray's back.
37% called strike plus whiffs. Of course, it's against the A's. And his last few starts have been against, lower quality opponents. He faced the Orioles. He also faced the A's again. He faced an Angels lineup without Shohei Ohtani or Jared Walsh in it. But he also did this against a really good Red Sox lineup, to be fair. So, it's been good stuff from Robbie Ray. You guys are, of course, not going to be seeing him. You're instead going to be seeing Chris Flexen, who we'll see. The last time Chris Flexen pitched in San Diego,
you know what I mean? I don't know.
the last time that he pitched in San Diego, the Padres very much flexed on him. So, yeah, not very looking forward to this.
Can you repeat that stat line by any chance? I don't know. Do you have that stat line in front of you? I'm just wondering. No. It's okay. I was just trying to embarrass. The boy. It's okay. Yeah. I don't want to be mean to the Mariners fans too much.
Yeah. Let's not relive that, because that was a very dark time last season.
Thing from last week too. So
the pizza thing.
The pizza thing was just great. I mean, it was lovely. Shouts to the person on Twitter who did that. But yeah, I mean, I think that the series is going to be pretty cool. I always love any interleague challenge and this fun little thing. And who knows? Maybe both of our teams will be making a similar trade again, because that's just what they like to do. Just make these very weird trades. I cannot get a vibe for your boy Jerry DiPoto, who apparently was making trades while on a hospital bed at one point. And then he makes really smart trades, and then people get mad at him from the clubhouse, but then it ends up working, and then everyone's like, cool, never mind, this was good. And then he gets Ty France, but then you're like, wait a minute, why is Jesse Winker back? Very odd GM, I would say. It's just everything. You can't be normal in Seattle, Ty. Like, it's literally not allowed.
It's impossible. It's impossible.
It's like, even for your other teams. The Seattle Seahawks, they've never played a normal game. It's never happened.
They've never played a normal game ever.
You had the coolest name ever for a basketball team in the Supersonics, and they're not there anymore. It's just there's like Mean Town of Philly, where it's just like the jerks. Then there's
by the way, when did this turn into the Hurt Ty podcast?
I don't know.
The Seahawks suck now. The Sonics are gone. The Mariners suck.
All right, I'll take the Sonics one. The Sonics one was totally out of pocket. That was my fault. I don't know why.
You want to take a shot at the
up.
Kraken now? You can take a shot at the Kraken if you want as well. Like,
I love the Kraken. Love the Kraken. Release the damn Kraken. More teams need to have better names.
Absolutely. All right. So before we hop off here, let me get a prediction out of you. What are you feeling?
I'm feeling a series split. I think that the Pods are in a little bit of a weird spot right now. I don't feel great. I don't know. It's just there's just a lot of questions with some of their offensive players. And also I think that, I don't know, there's something about Clevenger for this start. I can't get a good read on him. I don't know. He might go out and shove. I mean, he did really good the other day, which was awesome. When he's been kind of pitching and healthy, Mike Clevenger, who we didn't get a chance to talk about, has actually been pretty good. And I actually really like to defend that trade because I don't think that it's a bad trade if the player gets hurt necessarily. I think that that's just unfortunate bad luck. While the Ty France one is absolutely like, yeah, we got fleeced on that trade. While the Mike Clevenger thing, it's not like he knew after 2 starts, AJ Preller, my boy, that the guy was going to need Tommy John surgery, right? Like that's just kind of unfortunate luck. So I'm curious to see how he pitches. But for the most part, I mean, I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't like predicting series, to be perfectly honest with you.
Yeah, no, you know, we would do this like pick to click, take to rake thing, you know, for a while, and it just kind of felt like we were always, cursing the players that we picked, so we kind of just stopped doing that. But I'll throw out a prediction. Why not?
Go for it.
Mariners get swept, probably. we're being real. Like, all right, because here's the thing: for all the reasons that I mentioned, the injuries, the suspension, to Winker and everything, because Winker has been playing a lot better lately. He's been one of their best offensive players lately, so that is a pretty huge blow right now.
It kills the momentum, yeah.
I don't think Chris Flexen's going to be able to keep it close enough today for the Mariners, because like the Mariners offense, if we're being real about it, barring some crazy out of nowhere explosion, which could happen, to be fair, it is baseball, but they're probably only going to be able to score a couple runs. I don't think that Flexen's going to be able to keep the Padres on the board just for a couple of runs. So the key game here really to me is the Clevenger versus Gilbert start. Gilbert is very much capable of
Logan Gilbert. We didn't talk about him.
Yeah, Logan Gilbert is very much capable of limiting this Padres offense. So that could give the Mariners a chance here, because again, I just don't think they're going to be able to score enough runs, just given the lack of firepower that they have throughout the lineup. Because like the top of the lineup is fine. It's just basically 5 through 9 is a black hole for the most part, and anything that you get out of that is a bonus. So yeah, I think this is a possible sweep for the Padres. Could be a series split. I don't think that there's any chance that the Mariners get a sweep in San Diego. Again, barring some crazy out of nowhere explosion that no one foresees. But hey, it's baseball.
Hey, we are in uncertain times. I'll tell you that much. And in sports world especially, you just never know. You never know, man. You never know. Who knows what the Mariners are going to do? They might all of a sudden pluck Frankie Montas out of nowhere. I don't care if it's in the division.
Maybe they'll trade
anymore.
Maybe the Mariners will trade for Kevin Durant. Hey,
yeah, maybe they will. Why not? Let's just do it. Everybody, enough is enough. Let's just go balls to the wall. That's it. Oh my gosh, I am ready. Sports are back. All right. And,
sports are back.
Sports are back. And shouts to everybody. I was in North Carolina. That's why you didn't get any episodes. The hotel Wi-Fi was weird and was very mean to me. But shout out North Carolina, cool place.
Shout out to North Carolina. That's where Kyle Seager is from. That's all I got on North Carolina. Thank you for Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
That's going to do it for our show. Thank you so much for joining us here on the Locked On Mariners, Locked On Padres crossover special. For Javier Reyes, I'm Ty Dane Gonzalez. Be sure to give us a follow on Twitter at LO_Mariners and LO_Padres. You can follow me at Dane Gonzalez, that's DaneGNZLZ, and Javier at Javi Peno. You can also find all that stuff in the description of this episode. And thank you again for making us your first listen of the day, just like you do here every single day. Now make your second listen of the day. Locked On MLB Prospects host Lindsey Crosby is a prospect encyclopedia, and he's going deep on the MLB stars of tomorrow. It's free and available wherever you get your podcasts, just like us. And with that, have yourself a beautiful baseball day, and we'll see you tomorrow. Peace.